Welcome to the Why So Serious podcast. My name is Sean, aka Showtime.
And this is Quamatron.
Yes, so for this episode, this is something I've wanted to talk about for a little while. And I noticed.
A little while. Come on, man.
Well,
1974.
Yeah, I just was. Okay, I want to talk about this. And the doctors were like, "Why are they talking already?"
Is he a baby? I don't think so.
How does he know all these words? Yeah. But yeah, Quamatron, man, this is something I still see. I think I wanted to really address this because I see it still on social media, unfortunately, with I pause and say friends, acquaintances, friends on Facebook. People are still posting things like, for example, if I got this white privilege, then where's my Maybach? I should have I don't know, give me some of that. I guess I don't have this white privilege that everybody's talking about. Ha ha ha. It's like, man, do people still not know what privilege means? So we're talking about privilege today, what exactly it is. We're just going to get right into it. The definition of privilege. You Google it. Google is your friend most of the time.
Yeah.
Right. And one of the definitions of privilege, the main one is it's a special right or advantage for a person or group. So there's different kinds of privilege, right? I want to talk about, go ahead.
Repeat that again. Repeat that.
A privilege, if I can, I'll get it right up on the screen here too. Privilege is a special right or an advantage for a person or group, right? So there's a lot of different types of privilege, right? People feel attacked when you say white privilege, right? So I'm going to talk about two different kinds of privilege today. We're going to discuss is, first one is white privilege, and the second is socioeconomic privilege. There's more types of privilege out there, but we don't have all day, so we're going to talk about these two. So first off, when you talk about white privilege, right? The best example I can give to clarify it for people is, think of it this way. As a Black person, no matter where your background, whether you're Caribbean, you're from the Caribbean, African, wherever, American, Canadian, you have a dark skin color and curly hair, maybe no hair, whatever, right? You walk into a store and you are walking around the store. It's a corner store, small corner store in your neighborhood. And the person that owns the store is kind of looking at you like, okay, maybe they come out from behind the counter. You say, can I help you? And you're like, no. And you make sure that while you're there, you don't touch anything, you don't pick anything up. Your hands are maybe in your pockets as you're looking. And when you know what you want, or if you know exactly the item that you're going to get, then you grab it and you go immediately to the front.
Yeah.
As a person of color, right? As a Black person, I'm going to say specifically, in my case, in your case, Quamatron. So that's just sort of illustrating, that's just one example of privilege where, as a person, if you're talking about white privilege, that's something that you probably have not had to worry about, right? Going into a store like that and being in that situation, or going into the department store And as you're in the department store, being followed through the store, not for good customer service, but you know it's because they may think that you might want to steal something, right? And some people, I'm gonna even stop it right there and say, some people might say, oh, well, that happened to me before. And I'm like, maybe as a teenager or whatever, but I'm talking about like any kind of age, right? Because that's another, of course, privilege, age privilege as well, right? But that's just an example. Like, I just think people just still don't get it, still think it's about privilege. Doesn't mean that you're born with a silver spoon in your mouth at all. It just means that you're able to not think about things as a problem to you, right? Things don't become a problem to you. And that sort of leads me to when we're talking about, I'll sort of just segue into the socioeconomic privilege, right? If I'm talking about, for example, I can still be privileged, right? As a Black person, let's say middle class, whatever, I can say, you know what? Oh man, I'm pretty hungry and there's no food in the house. You know what? Well, then why don't you just get takeout? Why don't you just get takeout? Simple, right? But me being able to think like that is also privileged, because there's other people that may not be able to do that. When they say they have no food in the house, it's really no food and they don't have money for takeout. They are stuck and starving. They're not eating that day or for a couple days. Right. So having that privilege to think of it as not a problem for me, or what's the big deal, that's a privileged type of statement or attitude, right? Saying that this isn't really a big deal. I don't understand why somebody would be upset about that, or it's just easy. It's easy for me, so I don't see why it's not easy for anybody else. Just get another job. What's the problem? So you lost your job. What is the big deal?
What's the big deal?
Get up, go to work, man. I did it. Right. So that is one of my pet peeves, because continually seeing this, even after all of these things that have gone in the media and the whole, Black Lives Matter movement and things like that, people are still right now. And again, this is June 2021. People are still confusing what the word privilege means. And doesn't mean that you, again, it doesn't mean that you drive a Maserati or that you have $3 million in the bank. That's not white privilege, right?
No.
That's not what it means. It doesn't mean that, hey, you just automatically have it easy. You've had it easy all your life. It means that you don't have to worry about certain things that Black people worry about. That is it, period. And because of that, actually, I'll add after the period, next sentence, because you don't have to worry about a lot of those things, they may seem unimportant to you or you don't think about them, right? But really, it can be an issue for someone else who isn't you, who doesn't look like you. So it's just recognizing that, right? And again, without getting into, we don't have all day. So without getting into all of that, it's just saying it doesn't mean that you have to feel guilty about it, or I didn't make it like that, what can I do kind of thing. It's just recognizing and acknowledging that, right?
Right.
Acknowledging that there's a difference. There is a difference, that people that don't look like you have to deal with certain things or certain attitudes towards them, or they may have to act a certain way, right? Another quick example might be, again, if you get pulled over, right? I'm not mouthing off to the police. I'm not being like, oh, come on, man. I'm just trying to go here, man. What is their deal, man? I can't do that. Or if I can, I don't feel comfortable doing that. right? Someone that looks like,
I
because
don't
I've
feel
seen,
comfortable doing that. Indeed,
right? Because historically, someone looks like
historically,
me.
yeah.
If they were to do that, it is get out of the car, hands behind your head, interlock your fingers, get on the hood,
Yeah,
pat down.
yeah.
Whereas someone else that might not look like me might be like, sir, just please, just okay. You know what? You're gonna get a ticket. I'm gonna be right back. Just just calm down, okay? Just keep it calm. Or surprisingly, you might even get away with no speeding ticket or traffic violation. So I was just going to pick up my kid. I just had a day. I don't need this, whatever, right? I can't. I have to be very polite. Hands on the steering wheel. Yes, sir. No, sir. Sorry, sir. Apologize. Yes, that's it, right? So again, there's the socioeconomic privilege that I talked about. Number two was, again, how you grew up, what society you're in, and things like that. Having access to things that a lot of people may not have. Water, like taking that part of it. You could also say privilege might even be taking things for granted,
Right.
if you want to look at it that way. But my questions to you, Quamatron, that I want to discuss, two of them, two questions here. Number one is why is there still so much confusion over what privilege is, in general, especially this white privilege? And two, do you believe that everyone has some type of privilege?
So I'll deal with your your last question. Actually,
All
I'll
right.
start with that one.
Yeah.
Um, I think privilege intrinsically or innately has to do with also social value, or political value that you have as a person, as a group, or culture.
Okay.
What I mean by that is, if you are European descent, you have political capital and social capital. Um, so you have people who are in the Senate, the MLA, the government that look like you.
Yeah.
Um, and if you protest or if you have an issue, oftentimes they're probably going to listen to you more. Why? Because of empathy. They know this guy is going through this and he looks like me or my cousin. I'm going to listen to you. They probably had a lot more interactions with you. Recently, I heard
Right.
about, I think, a senator in the U.S., or I think he's a senator, but he was like a 50-year-old man, 53-year-old man, European. And this guy, the way that he was conversing with this African woman in the U.S., she remarked like it was as if he'd never had any relationship with anyone that looked like her.
I can
Right.
only imagine.
And it's only because we're at work that I have to talk to you. That's the sad part. So do we all have social capital? I would say we do, but it's in varying degrees.
Yeah.
It's in varying degrees. Um, Now, your first question was, why is there so much misunderstanding? Is that what it was, or
Yeah.
confusion?
Why is there still so much confusion? Because it seems, if I could even put it up, I won't put it up again if I put it up on the screen. But again, that definition, probably for the third or fourth time,
Again, one more time.
for everyone, listen carefully.
Yeah,
Make sure.
it's a
Is
very
this
good
mic on?
definition. Actually, it's a very good definition.
It's concise. I like it.
To the point.
To the point. What the definition of privilege? Specialized, special, a special right or advantage for a person or group. Special rights or advantages for a person or group.
I had the same question why is there so much confusion around privilege and white privilege?
Mm.
And I think it has to do with empathy. You don't know the African American world or the Afro Canadian world, right? You're particularly very European. Your cultures, your holidays, your festivities, everything is European based. You get a little rap music in there for the beep bop, beep 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 bop bop beep beep, right? You get a little bit of that. You
I
know,
want to
say,
hear
hey,
that.
look,
I got to
I'm
hear that
open.
track.
I'm open. I listen to a little Beyonce, that one track, so I'm okay. But here's the real truth.
Yeah.
You live in a world and society where you are treated very special. And here's one very special thing I can tell you.
Mm.
The way you even talk tells me you're special.
Oh.
Here's what I mean. Listen to a highly privileged young girl, European, and she talks like this. Oh my God, how can you say that? How can you talk like that in society and people take you seriously? Come on, like, can we go now? Like, I was thinking that, like, I will not, if you're a customer service, I will not take you seriously. If I'm calling you, I will not take you seriously. If you're a business owner, I might go elsewhere.
Yeah.
Right. Even your tone, your inflection, the power you use to speak from your mouth sounds like everything is on a pedestal for you. Versus another woman who's like, no, this is what I need right now. I need to go to the left and then to the right, pick up this, and then go back there. Any questions, sir? You're like, whoa, this person here has a different demeanor altogether.
Right.
So why there's so much confusion, I think, has a lot to do with empathy. It has a lot to do with.
You just think that these people that are confused just don't have empathy for if it's for people that don't look like them.
Yeah, it's a different world. And when you try and go for loans and grants, they are less likely to give it to you because they may have a certain perception that the media has perpetrated about someone that looks like you. So I've gone for grants and loans, and they will come up with the wildest reasons why not to give it to me. Like, oh, you need to have at least 4 employees. But this is a startup. This is like my first month. And I mean, they might as well just say, well, it's a Wednesday, and you need to apply on there, on Wednesday. It's a Monday. So sorry.
Yeah.
So I think the power behind privilege, is being given the benefit of a doubt. That's the most powerful piece.
Right.
And the moment I can give that to you, so in other words, I see Showtime on the ground fighting with a similar age European girl. She's slapping him, he's slapping her. Police arrive. What do you think is going to happen? Mm-hmm. And because of that, him getting arrested, and it's like, ma'am, are you okay? Yeah, he. Okay. So then you start seeing how Karens are born.
Right.
Because Karens know that. They have the benefit of a doubt. Karens know that. And that's why they're so powerful.
Right. Yeah. There's all kinds of, we focus on these two, but there's all kinds of privilege. There's, privilege as a woman have certain privileges. As men, we have certain privileges, right? We can be like, again, if this is a sort of a privileged statement here, if it's like, it's getting kind of dark outside. But I haven't been outside all day. You know what? I'm gonna go for a walk. I'll see you later. Like, why don't? It's like, well, what's the big deal? Just going for a walk. I'm just going for a walk by myself in the evening. What is the big deal? Like, why can't everybody do that? It's a walk. It's simple. You put one foot in front of the other. It doesn't matter what time it is, right?
And then I go.
As men, we can say that. As women, they don't have that same privilege because there's all these thoughts. Again, I can't speak as a woman, but I'm pretty confident in saying that depending on where you live and so on. But there's all these thoughts of like, okay, what route am I going to take? Am I going to feel safe? Is something going to happen? I don't know if it's, I should be back by this time. It's getting dark. Maybe I should just stay inside. Like, everybody has some sort of privilege. So it's nothing to be, I just want to say it's nothing to be, to feel like super guilty about. I think my response would be also on to top that off. I mean, that's your answer. I think that's a very good one is, the lack of empathy. I think also maybe along with that, tied in with that is some guilt, right? Because it sounds to them, I'm just thinking that it may sound like you're being accused of something. You have this privilege. We're saying you have white privilege. All of a sudden, well, I'm white, and they're talking about me. I never. No, the response is to get defensive and say, well, I didn't ask for this. I didn't do this. Like, nobody.
The worst one is,
right?
I didn't own a slave.
Right.
I never owned a slave, but I will say, sorry for interjecting here.
No.
The biggest argument usually is the benefit you've had from your ancestors owning slaves is what you're standing on, right? The trust funds you have, the jobs that you have, the access, the opportunities that you have today, the world that's been created from this evil, illegal activity of slavery that you're now standing on, right? Well, maybe your great grandparents didn't own slaves, but there was wealth that was enjoyed and transferred through the ages to this very moment. We're not, the issue is not with that person who's like, I acknowledge that was wrong, and I am an advocate for let's move forward, and in a justice-filled manner. My issue is with the person who's like, well, you know what? We're now in 2021. I'm doing well. I'm doing well because I worked hard, right? But I will not acknowledge that I'm also standing on this pedestal of wealth because of my background.
Right.
That to me is insulting. That to me is insulting.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I hear that, because it may not even necessarily be, again, to emphasize, it's not necessarily that people will say, well, I'm not rich. I don't have a mansion and stuff like that. So what are you talking about? Yeah, but you still will have throughout your lifetime some opportunities that may not have been afforded to someone else who doesn't look like you, right? Even though you just got that job at that construction company or whatever, or you got a few things, someone was like, hey, you know what? I'm selling my car. You know what? You're just a neighbor down the street, but you know what? I'm selling my car. Was gonna sell it for 20, but you know what? We're neighbors. You look like a good guy. You know what? I'm not even gonna list it. If you want it, it's yours. Let's just work out something. We'll work something out. I don't want to go through all that stuff. We'll work something out. I trust, we can figure something out. But if somebody else asks for it, it might be, well, you see what the price is. So there's no discussion about that. It's just that certain things may have been afforded to you that you may not even realize or think about.
That's the word, afforded to you.
Right. And it doesn't mean that you come off as a billionaire.
No.
But it just means that you may have had some advantages. It may have been like, yeah, sure, you know what? Sure, you can be hired. I know your dad. Or, what? Just even like, so you're looking for a job, okay? You put in an application. You might not even think of this stuff. Like, if I was to think about when we were kids, man, when we were growing up as teenagers, and you're applying places, and this back in the day, we used to have to like fill out paper applications. And you think, John, Quamatron, when you hand that application and you look at that person, sometimes you just know that you didn't get it. They look at you and they're like, okay, Kwame, this is Kwame, so you're applying? Okay. Thanks.
No, we'll get back to you. You know, it'd be
Um,
funny.
you're like, I didn't get
It'd be funny is that as soon as you walk out and they throw it away, and then you're like, "Oh, you know what? I forgot to put another phone number on there."
Garbage.
You know what? Write down here for me. I'll add it for you. Here's the one thing.
I'll just say the contrast may be, you know, again, where someone else that doesn't look like you or I, may come in and they get the application. They're just like, okay, well, you know what? They're thinking in their head, this looks like a good kid, familiar, looks kind of like me, reminds me of myself. Yeah, okay. Well, thanks for the application. Are you free next week? In the evenings? Yeah. Okay. All right, Josh, I'll give you a call. Expect a call from me. Right?
The reason why what you just said is so difficult for many to comprehend. Here's what it is. It's that privilege, that bias lives in a subconscious state. Like you're subconscious. Right? So the thing about the subconscious is that it does whatever you say. It doesn't know left to right or right to wrong. It does whatever you say. So if you've been programmed that people that look like that are typically criminals, baby daddies, right? Like no gooders.
Yeah.
And people that look like that are typically upstanding citizens, leaders in the community. Who do you think they're going to hire? This goes even deeper. I was mentioning about like loans and grants. This goes deeper. If you have a startup, a technology startup, and you're trying to get money, more than most European men get like 90% of the lion's share of venture capital money. European females get like 2%. African females get less than 1%. Specifically, or to be exact, 0.5 or 0.6.
Wow.
Or 0.6. So when if a European female might get like 30 million, the African female might get like 12, and she's like, okay, well, let's make do. Meanwhile, the European dude, he got like 300 and something million. Because there's a trust that lives in the subconscious that if that guy has it, more than not, my money's on that horse.
Right. And just before anything else, people will say this is with the same level.
Everything.
Same level, same work amount of years put into your company, and same type of level of intelligence and so on, right?
It even goes sometimes a little more ridiculous, Sean, is that you may have this is like some stories about Silicon Valley where people are getting funded from paper napkins.
Yeah.
They were in a restaurant. I got an idea for this new gadget. Basically what it does is you press this button here and it does this. And this button here does this. And it's just on a napkin. No prototype, no business case, nothing. And it's like, you know what? I'll give you 30 million for that. Boom. You're like, what? Thanks, Josh. High five. What I want to really say, man, to cap this off, I know we're over time, is this. When you look at the Canadian Parliament, the British Parliament, the US Senate, and you just see a sea of European men and women, you're like, well, how did that happen? You as a European man listening right now, just think how that happened. You as a European female listening to this right now, ask yourself, how did that happen? This was either purposed or subconsciously biased, decision. If he looks like this, that's my senator.
Yeah.
And you have to understand that this is such a widespread issue. Widespread. So what happens is, if we're looking for prison guards, yeah, get the African guys. If we're looking for lawyers, get the European guys. Like it's not even a conversation they have with themselves. It's deep rooted. So you're like, well, how come, so not like today, right now in Toronto, there's a lot of companies that are moving towards diversity and inclusion. Like they're trying hard.
Right.
There's one problem. It's diversity and inclusion on every level except for the senior level.
Oh.
The senior level is still very European.
Yeah, that's a whole thing, man. They gotta do more. Definitely need to do more work on that.
And it's I think I know maybe like 2 African Caribbean guys that were like VP, like C-level, right? And why is it only these 2? Well, these are the only 2 that have actually been able to rise through it all. But there are many. Showtime. And they're qualified, they're ready to go, they can contribute, give value, be innovative, all these awesome things. But someone in there's like, Tyrone Smith, that's not good for our brand. But you know what? Josh McDaniels, it's a slam dunk.
Yeah, man. Thank you for that, Kwamatron. And yeah, man, I'll just conclude by saying too, I mean, my statement on the whole thing would be, again, it's not, if I could say one thing about privilege, any kind of privileges, and especially the white privilege, would be to say it's not about guilt, right? And it's not about pity that Black people are looking for, saying, oh, look how bad we had it and you didn't have it that bad, and just feel sorry for us. It's not that. It's just about acknowledging that there is a difference and working to make, not just acknowledging it, that there's differences that afforded you some advantages because of how you look, recognizing that, acknowledging it, and if you see your fellow human, if there is some way to speak out about it or say something about it or do something about it, to do it.
Yeah.
Right. That's it.
I really respect, I have a very close friend and, a European guy, and I love this man. I've mentioned him earlier.
We have him as a guest?
We will have him as a guest.
Okay, because I know there was you had another European friend as a guest. Hey, some of my best friends are European.
Hey, some of my best friends are European.
I went to school with a European.
You're not talking to me.
My neighbor down the street, he's European.
Yeah. My mailman's European. My milkman's European. Like, honestly, if you're telling me that people that work for you or work with you are European as your reason for not being racist, you're a racist. Hey, everyone that works for me is European. Is that a bad thing? Huh? I pay them good. Well, now you're all kind of good.
Hey, I eat roti. What are you talking about, man?
Yeah.
I love Black people. I love the food. I listen to hip hop.
I love when they serve me. I love that part. That's why I go to Jamaica.
Yeah.
Come on, high five. Anyways, but I have this one friend, man. He's just look, man. The brother has hooked me up. My first two jobs were recommendations from him.
Okay.
And this man has blessed me, not helped me, blessed me. And such, I always joke with him. I'm like, listen, I will pay for your kid's masters.
Yeah.
Like, he's blessed me that much. And I just look at, to me, humans are humans. Because the fact that I, as a Ghanaian man, can take my kidneys can be transferred into a man from Russia or China or Pakistan. We're human beings, right? You're not black, you're not white, because we're all Homo sapiens. That's it. We breathe air, we eat, we go to the bathroom, we sleep. So the privilege that we have, I would say that would probably be there naturally, would be socioeconomic. That would always be there.
Right. And yeah, like I said, unfortunately too, I know this has been a point of difference with you and I when you say that statement, because I get it, but I also just, like I said, I like to emphasize that there are, the point I want to get across is for people to recognize the differences, right? Because I think we all recognize, or most people recognize, that we're all humans, right? We know we all have red, we all bleed blood red and breathe oxygen the same, have lungs and the same organs and things like that. But this is not to just paint everybody with the same brush and say, so what? We don't need to recognize that there's difference. So you're human just like me. What's the point? What's the difference? I did it, you can. Well, the difference is, yes, unfortunately, because of how we look on the outside, some people have been afforded different advantages, some, again, special rights or advantages for a person or group. Again, to take it a little step further, this case, we may be talking about based on how you look, right? The color of your skin. Even people that are, again, even so many different types of privilege. I mean, they say even people that are attractive, men or women, they have certain advantages. They might get more jobs and stuff and so on, right?
Absolutely.
Just based on this guy is 6 feet tall, 6 feet tall, and he is just on a height alone. Like, might notice a lot of CEOs and so on, like maybe like tall.
They're like
guys.
At least 5'11" or 6'1".
Right. And just this guy looks like a powerful guy. And got the powerful jawline.
And his handshake.
Like based on that alone, someone that's like below average height might have a little bit more of a struggle, not that they can't do it. And that's the same thing that I'm going to say again. We're way over time, but same thing I want to say about, again, Black people. Again, it's not that we can't. We're not saying, hey, we can't. We're not able to rise to a certain level, or hey, we can do anything as well. We're human as well, right? But it just comes down to the fact is just recognize if you have an advantage, whoever you are, what if it's an advantage or a special right because of how you look, or John, like you touched on, and we touched on the second privilege that we were talking about today was socioeconomic. Recognize that too, right? Recognize when you see somebody sometimes in a different situation than you, they're living poorly or not able to afford things, it's not always just so easy, right? That kind of thing it could have been generational or so on, something, or just because, again, you're brought up in a certain area, a certain way. It's a huge topic, but again, we appreciate that you listen on us, and just, again, recognize the differences and don't feel guilty. Do something if you can.
That's it. Be courageous.
Yes, sir. Thank you again for checking us out. We just want to say that you can also catch us a lot of places online. You can catch us on YouTube, the Why So Serious podcast on YouTube. You can catch us on Spotify. You can subscribe on Spotify. It doesn't cost you anything. Check us out there. Check us out on Instagram. It is whysoserious.podcast on Instagram, and you can see us there, DM us there. You can check us out on all your favorite places where you find your favorite podcasts, like Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Anchor.fm, Quamatron. I'm not sure if I'm forgetting any, but Woody, what else, man?
Email. Don't forget us at the Why So Serious. Sorry, the Why So Serious .podcast@gmail.com.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, you can check us out a lot of places, man.
Yeah. Listen, we'd love to hear from you. We're really here for you. Just spending time with you. We really appreciate this. Carving time out to spend, some freshness with us. We really appreciate that. So feel free, to reach out to us. Give us your comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.